Hey, it's been a while. Welcome to As Told by a Slut. I'm the slut, Molly. And yeah, it's been at least like a week since I have uploaded here, so sorry about that. Life, and then I almost thought that I was getting sick or something for a minute, like over the weekend. I just was not feeling good. I was just really run down and like tired, almost like sore throat. And even though I had the vaccine, of course, I'm like COVID and like my neck was sore. And then I was reading something about neck soreness and about how people during COVID are like all like this and we're looking at our phones. And that is definitely, oh, that's what it is. So I'm trying to, take a break. 'Cause it seems like this is kind of the MO for my body, is that I don't get sick super often, but when I do get sick, it's my body like, hey, you need to take a break now. Please relax. Because when you're a business owner and you like work for yourself, like how I do, it's not like I clock in and clock out. I'm like on the clock all the time. So sometimes I'll work, 18, 20 hours a day, and it can be a lot. I'm so excited. If you can tell, I brushed all of the tangles out of my hair, which, depending on your hair, that may or may not be impressive to you. But let me tell you, I fucking, I had this little hairball. Sadly, I threw it away, but it was all the hair that like came out when I was trying to brush my hair because, I got this brush. A friend recommended it to me. It's like a different type of style, right? It's like a comb, but also a brush. Anyways, it really, really helped. This brush really helped detangle my hair. Usually what I do, it's not pretty, is I sometimes have to cut out like knots in my hair because it gets really knotted up. Anyways, I was just excited about that and wanted to share. If anybody's interested, I'll put the name of the brush in the description just in case you have hair. It's called Puffcuff, I believe, but it's very, very good. So, gosh, whew, been dealing with some bullshit, yo. So I don't totally remember the last thing I uploaded on here. I am so not organized, sadly. I think the last video, okay, I was talking about like dating stuff and everything like that. So I'm still sort of doing that. I'm just so fucking picky. I've been chatting with several people. I do have like somebody that I sometimes see, so like he's chill, but trying to find that diamond in the rough, and I'm not really wanting to like go on dates and stuff. I just want to like meet and hang out. So, what's been going on that's been frustrating is I've been dealing with some fat phobia, and I wanted to talk about it. Doing some journaling about it too. I think I'm actually going to like, I don't know, publish a couple of like blog posts like about fat phobia, especially in sex work and things like that. So I'm just going to give you all a rundown of what happened. So basically, there's some photographer who, was like always looking for people to photograph and post a lot on various social media places. And so I responded back, and this was a while ago. This was like months and months back. And so I replied and I was like, hey, I'm interested, they're also hairy. So I was thinking there'd be like some overlap there. I never heard back, which was weird because she did reply to my email for a different reason, like, a few months back. So I'm like, I knew that she like knew who I was and like she had my info. Oh yeah, look at this freaking Sabrina Roach clip. So I know that fucking she had my info and she knew how to get in touch with me. But, you know, whatever. So I hit her up again. And I was like, hey, because I kept on seeing her posts. And I'm very extroverted, and, like, I, like, want to do more, like, photo shoots, and, you know, it's part of my job. I actually have one this Thursday coming up. So still didn't hear back. And I thought it was just weird. And also, you know, part of this is me because I'm just like an anxious human. So I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? So I think I messaged her a final time just saying, like, was there something I did, or like, what the fuck? And finally she replied basically just saying that, like, she doesn't like fat people. I mean, that's the long and short of it. Like, there's a whole message, you know, she talks about how, you know, she was squirrely about answering because her clients wouldn't like a fatter model, and that shooting with me would be a risk to her business, and that she was willing to offer me like a free like blog post to like test the waters as like a consolation prize, but like she wasn't down to like work with me or shoot with me or anything like that. And that felt really shitty. You know, at first, my first response is like, you know, when you grow up in an abusive household, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And then I thought about it and I'm like, actually, like, no, like, that's fucked up, and I really can't support anybody who is fatphobic. So, you know, I just didn't reply and was like, just said, yep, can't support that, bye. And about a week or two ago, she posted in a group that I'm in saying, hey, I'm looking for models to shoot. And, you know, it got me pissed off because nowhere in her little casting call thing does she say, I don't really like to shoot with fat people. So I just made a public thing in this chat saying, hey, my experience with this person wasn't great. Like, if you're fat, you might not work with this person well, because they told me that it would be risky to work with me. And that was not great, not a great response. It just really goes to show how little thin people think about fat phobia, and also how fat people are the last people to be, like, it's okay to discriminate against fat people in a lot of ways. People feel, I mean, it's not, but people act as if it is, you know what I mean? And the history of fat phobia is deeply seated in racism, the objectification of Black women's bodies, people of color. I think it's very, very racist, but it's also just a broad discrimination that is complete bullshit. And so, you know, so I called this person out, and then immediately there are thin models saying like, oh no, like, you know, we got to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, I can't believe that she did something like that. And, you know, it was really, really frustrating that there are some people that were immediately like, damn, like, I'm sorry that happened. Like, that's bullshit. You know, acknowledging that, like, a photographer being discriminatory about somebody's looks, like, isn't okay. But other people were happy to, like, immediately gaslight me and assume that, like, I had made a mistake and that there's no way that this person would have done this. So, you know, I hate that we're in the society where, you know, you have to have the receipts or you have to have screenshots. So I'm just like, hey, like, if you don't believe me, like, I can show you the proof. What benefit would I have from, like, saying this person doesn't like fat people? Like, that, how is that going to benefit me? It's just going to make me look shitty and like a fucked up person. And I don't really want that. Okay. So, then another person was like, oh, that person is like my sex work mom and they're so great, and, you know, they're really, really open and blah, 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 blah. And my response to that person was like, sure, a lot of people don't want to admit that their parents are like transphobic, racist, bigoted, but newsflash, some parents are. And also, just because you're like diverse about some things doesn't mean you're diverse about everything. And from my perspective, this person's website, 90% white thin. I mean, I think there's a couple, maybe like tanner, maybe some like Hispanic people, maybe some like very light skinned Black people. I honestly didn't see any Black people though. And so I just thought it was fucked up, you know, that this person is like just being, I don't know, it's just, they're being so defended by other models. And there was another model who brought up like a really good point. And sorry, I'm just like obsessed with how my hair doesn't have knots. And so this model brought up a point, and it's hard because it's like fat phobia. It's like, it's not equal to or the same as like, you know, other type of discriminations. They're all fucked up. They all have weird fucked up intersections, and they're all bad. But fat phobia is the one that people give allowances for some reason, because, you know, this person brought up the example, if this photographer were like homophobic, transphobic, racist, something else, there wouldn't be any defending of this person. There wouldn't be, oh, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. It would be like, we don't want a fucking transphobe in our room, right? But because it's about fat people, people don't really care as much. And it's really, really fucked up, and it's really upsetting. And so I am just, as you know, from my last thing with a bully, I'm just like, might as well be loud about shit, you know, because a lot of people aren't. And I'm actually glad that I was loud about this and stood up, because several fat models have reached out to me and like thanked me and were like, hey, you know, thank you so much for saying something. Like, I'm not able to say something, or like, I don't have the courage, or whatever, you know, or some people just don't want to be like that on their work account. And I guess for me, it's not that I don't care. Like, it's not like I don't consider like how my actions will affect my business, but I guess I'm hoping that I'm curating a clientele and audience that accepts me for me and understands why I would need to speak up and be passionate and loud about something like this, because I am fat. I'm a fat fucking woman in a very fucked up world. And, you know, and I know I have a lot of privilege. I mean, if I was a fat black woman, I cannot even imagine how difficult that would be. So, I mean, it's just really, really shitty. And honestly, the only reason that I said something was because I didn't want another fat person to hit this person up and then say, oh no, I don't like fat people. And then, I mean, I felt like a fucking, you know, it felt really shitty. It felt really, really bad to be dismissed like this. And then there was a fat person that was like, oh, you know, she just shot with me. And, you know, she's actually like really great and really open. And this person's a little smaller than me. And so I'm like thinking to myself, you know, okay, finally, like maybe she decided to shoot one fat person. Just because you decided maybe I'll shoot one fat person doesn't absolve you from your other bullshit, and also doesn't absolve you for treating me poorly. And also, people can be racist and misogynistic and stuff, and maybe have one or two examples of them, you know, doing X, Y, or Z. You know, it doesn't mean they've changed. So anyways, the photographer finally starts replying, and it's complete blaming me. It's saying that I am talking behind her back, that, you know, I'm spreading all of this stuff, you know, that, you know, she wanted me to like talk to her privately about it. And why does she deserve me to like talk to her privately about this, right? It was just bullshit. And, you know, basically saying that I was instilling punitive judgment, which I quickly said, you know, a lot of people will like, you know, my friend actually said this to me, and it's so true, because I was venting to them, you know, that people will confuse punitive judgment with being held accountable for your actions. I just wanted this person to be held accountable for their actions and to acknowledge, hey, I really fucked up here. But instead they're like saying shit like, I'm not attracted to fat people. And since I'm not attracted to fat people, like, I don't really want to shoot with them. But I mean, I guess I need to like consider how that is, and I should change my booking practices. And, you know, it's really, really frustrating. It's just really, really, really frustrating. And I was very disappointed in some other people. I'll just be totally honest. I'm very disappointed that there's a lot of thin people that they could not care less about it, because it doesn't affect them, you know, it just does not affect them. And, you know, they are at a place of privilege and they don't understand it. And, you know, that's why I don't know. I mean, I have friends of all different types of like bodies and races and genders and things like that. But it is interesting, like my friends that are like white and thin and cis and like conventionally attractive, sometimes they disappoint me. Not always, and not all of them, but it's just like a couple. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's like, do better, people. And it's not even like close. It's just people. I don't know. It's just people in general. Like, we're all in this room, in this world together, and saying nothing and seeing all that happen, it's just bullshit. And it's just petty. And I just think it's like people are cowards. And I guess I was really upset because I can understand on a client-facing place where you don't want to air out all the dirty laundry, but in a space where it's only workers and it's only fellow sex workers and we're talking with each other, for people to be quiet then, I don't know, it was really, really frustrating. There were some people that were like, acknowledging that it was fucked up and that we should think about this. And, it really, and it's not like it's any fault of like the people who run the room or the people in the room. Like there was somebody who made a mistake and it was just how people reacted to this. And, the people of this room are like, most of them are very sweet and, awesome people. And it's just like there are a lot of blind spots that people hold and people carry that they don't think about. And this was shining a large light on those. And, one of the people who runs the room was talking to me and basically like thanking me just in the sense that like that room didn't really think about fat phobia or really didn't talk about fat phobia before I started talking about it and stuff, which is just, I don't know. It's like so bittersweet is how I feel about it. Like it's sad that it takes a fucked up like slight against a fat person and then that fat person being loud about it for people to say, this isn't okay. It sucks that, people just don't think about it, and it was, I have a friend that I met recently and other fat people were talking just about weird experiences we had, how like when you date a guy and he doesn't want to take you in public or, makes weird comments about like, oh, my friends wouldn't believe if I was dating a fat girl, like they would be so shocked and, oh, they would give me some shit, that type of bullshit. And some people, and this friend was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that shit happened to you. And I think some people just don't think about it the same way that like I don't think about all the different injustices and difficulties that like fucking Black people, BIPOC people go through, that transgendered people go through. It's something that I try to be empathetic and I try to be open and constantly learning, but there are things that like, I don't understand. So so this happened a few days ago, and then one of the people who ran the group said that like the photographer was going to basically like mull it over and process it and maybe apologize. And like, what did I want to have happen? And that's what was really frustrating. Like, it's not like I wanted this person to get like blacklisted or kicked out. I literally just wanted to warn fat people, like, you might get your feelings hurt / you might get rejected. I wouldn't bother if I were you. Just saying this is what happened to me. I wasn't embellishing. I wasn't saying, like, what a fucking bitch. I was just saying, hey, this happened and that was my experience and it wasn't a great one and I would hate for it to happen to you. And so 4 days later, the photographer decides to do a public apology in this room, which, you know what? It just screams virtue signaling to me. She could have reached out privately. She had my email. She has my Twitter. I unblocked her on this app. So I'm just like, she could have reached out to me, you know what I mean? And said, hey, like, I'm sorry this happened. How would you like me to do this? Instead, she made this whole, it was almost like a PR thing. Like, I'm working on my stuff and I'm going to be a better person and I'm sorry and I've made myself available to Molly and all this crap. And it's like, just the fact that like I'm expected to like go to her for an apology, it was just a lot of disrespect, a lot of bullshit. And, it just really was upsetting. And, that's that, I mean, I can't really ask for anything else from that specific scenario. I mean, that's cool that she was either guilted or whatever into apologizing. It's kind of shitty that it took her 4 days of reluctance to actually do it. But I mean, I don't really know what else I was expecting. I wasn't really expecting an apology. I think it's just the way the apology was done. It just reads like a shitty male photographer who got caught being rapey and decides to do a public apology on Twitter saying, oh, men are horrible. Men need to do better, without actually reaching out to the hurt parties and saying, hey, you know, like, I really fucked up here and how can I make it better? Instead, just wanting to apologize for the public props, you know? And then some thin people replied to the apology just being like, oh, that's so sweet of you, and, you know, hearts, and like, that's so great. And I was bitching about that to my friend, and they said like something super smart, and it's exactly how I feel, where people need to learn that if you're not the subject of harm, you really can't or shouldn't accept an apology. Like, these thin models, they weren't the ones that got hurt by saying shooting with someone fat is risky. So, I mean, I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm just not. You know, I'm not going to say, wow, thanks for the, like, reluctant apology. That's awesome. I'm also not going to, like, stir it and be like, fuck you. I'm just not going to say anything because I don't want to say anything, and I don't really feel like I owe that person anything. I don't care about that person. I was just trying to protect other fat people from feeling fucked over. So anyways, it just brought up a whole fucking pot of feelings and anger and frustration. I mean, I'm not the only person in the industry that talks about this. There's another model, sex worker Gwenadora, that is amazing. I follow them. I just think they're awesome, and they talk a lot about fat phobia and just how it really fucks with the business. I mean, fuck, I don't know if I talked about this on here or not, but I mean, there's examples of like porn stars, male porn stars, that are signed to porn labels, porn production companies, and the porn production companies force them to delete photos and videos of them having sex with fat people because it's bad for their brand. And there's like at least 2 companies I've heard about that do that. So it's just a systemic fucked up thing in the porn industry within sex work, that fat people are valued less. Fat people are looked as less than, they're treated differently, they're et cetera, et cetera. And just the fact that, you know, you're signed to a company and they're saying, oh, you can't even have done this in the past before you were signed to us. You can't even look like you like fat people. You can't even act like you like fat people. You got to delete that. I mean, it's not that I was surprised. I was just like upset, you know? So it's something, you know, I want to shine a light on, that fat phobia in this industry, or in any industry in our world, is bullshit, and it really, really needs to be stopped. So, you know, it's never fun being, I don't know, you know, when I'm like standing up and all these people are like, oh no, like, she's great. Like, I don't know what, it's not like, it's never great being like the lone person that's standing up to something, you know what I mean? And so there were some people that, you know, were supportive and were like, I don't know. I know I'm rambling here, sorry. Long story short, there's a lot of fat phobia. And I guess it's something I expected from a shitty man. You know, I mean, how many shitty male photographers I've seen that are like, I will only shoot young, thin, blonde girls because that's what I'm attracted to. And I mean, hey, do what you do, but I mean, I guess I just hope for more from like fellow femme sex workers, but it was a really great learning lesson that, like, honestly, someone can be in one marginalized group and still be, you know, bigoted, basically. Can't forget that. So, I don't know. I just want to talk about that before you think about judging somebody based off how they look, maybe think like if it's any of your business, like literally any of your business. And it really isn't. You know, when people talk about fat people and, you know, being concerned for their health, I mean, that could be a whole other video, honestly. So I'm not going to go into that right now. But just think about just think about how people act towards fat people, especially fat women. It's like men are allowed to be fat. You know, think of like, I don't know, what's his name? Oh gosh, what's his name? You know, SNL, he died. Oh gosh, you know, he was in a bunch of movies with, what's his name? Chris Farley. Okay, so Chris Farley, for example, or like, what's his name? The King of Queens guy, Kevin James. Like, you know, there's all these like fat dudes, like the Belushi guy. He's kind of fat-ish, right? I don't know. There's a bunch of like male actors that are fat, and it's like, it's not like they have to just be like some fat role or something. They can do all sorts of things. I mean, fat women, it's harder. I mean, I feel like Melissa McCarthy really opened things up with that, but I mean, you know how it is. Fat women, it's just a whole bag of bullshit. So I'm going to end there. Thanks for listening, and don't be fat phobic.